Some cities never sleep, but Zootopia feels different tonight. Beneath the familiar hum of streetlights and distant traffic, there's a pulse, almost imperceptible, that makes even the brightest avenues feel uneasy. Judy Hopps walks along slick cobblestones, her footsteps echoing in rhythms that feel slightly off. She isn't thinking of a case, or even a mystery. She can only of a feeling. Something about the city has shifted. The air is charged, subtle tremors running through alleyways and neon-lit corners, and she senses it before she sees it. Nick Wilde walks beside her, quieter than usual. He notices the small things, the way shadows linger too long, the subtle hesitation in a passerby's steps, the odd cadence of conversations fading too abruptly. For him, it's not fear, it's curiosity, sharpened by instinct. And yet, he cannot shake the feeling that whatever is stirring is more complex than it seems, woven into the city itself. The morning begins like any other, but the rhythm is fractured. Street performers freeze mid-motion, traffic lights pulse out of sync, and even the birds in the park seem hesitant to call. Judy senses it, a quiet dissonance beneath familiar sights. Nick smirks, half joking, but his eyes are alert, scanning the patterns no one else sees. Something is amiss. In the heart of Zootopia, unnoticed by most, events ripple like stones thrown into still water. Small irregularities, a flickering sign, a vehicle taking the wrong turn. A voice heard just behind a closed door build into a tapestry of unease. Judy notices first, feeling the city's pulse as if it were hers to read. Nick feels it too, though he'll never admit how deeply it unsettles him. And yet, for all their awareness, they are not yet aware of the full picture. Someone is moving through Zootopia with intent. It doesn't announce itself with noise or spectacle. It moves in quiet, deliberate ways, leaving traces just out of reach. And as the sun sets, the familiar skyline begins to feel strange. Reflections in glass towers catch movement that shouldn't be there. Shadows fall where they've never fallen before. Judy and Nick pause in the square near the city's heart. The hum of traffic fades into a low, insistent vibration. Both feel it, a tension that is patient, precise, and watchful. They glance at one another, unspoken questions lingering in the space between them. Zootopia has always been full of surprises, but this feels different. Somewhere above, a shadow moves across a rooftop. Somewhere below, a whisper passes along the empty street. And for the first time in a long while, the city feels alive in a way they cannot control or predict. Every instinct tells them something is coming, but they cannot yet name it. The night stretches long and still. Lights flicker across the streets, casting shapes that seem almost familiar and almost alien. Judy's gaze lingers on an alleyway where nothing should be, and Nick's ears catch a sound that doesn't belong. Both know the city is calling them, and neither is entirely ready to answer. And in that quiet, weighted pause, a single thought presses forward, unspoken but undeniable. Nothing in Zootopia will be quite the same again. The city doesn't change all at once. It changes the way a thought changes, quietly, invisibly, until suddenly you realize you are no longer standing where you once were. Judy feels it in the days that follow. Not in headlines, not in public panic, but in the smallest details. A shopkeeper who hesitates before answering a simple question. A neighbor who closes the door a little too quickly. The way laughter in the streets feels slightly rehearsed, as if everyone is trying to prove something to themselves. Zootopia is still bright, still colorful, still moving. But the brightness has become a mask, and Judy has spent enough time in this city to know the difference between peace and performance. Nick stays close, though he pretends it is casual. He makes jokes, but they lend softer now. His eyes keep drifting toward reflections in windows, toward corners of crowds, toward the spaces where things can hide. He has always been good at reading people, but lately, it feels like the city itself is the one watching. And the strangest part is, it isn't watching with anger. It's watching with patience, as if something has been waiting a long time to begin. One evening, a call comes in. Not urgent, not dramatic, just strange. A report of someone missing. No struggle, no chaos, just absence. a citizen who simply stopped being where they were supposed to be. Judy and Nick arrive at the location expecting something ordinary, but the air inside feels wrong. Too still. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't belong to empty rooms, but two rooms that are holding their breath. Judy steps forward slowly. Her instincts tighten. Nick's voice lowers without him noticing. And then they see it. Not evidence. Not a clue in the usual sense. Something smaller. Something almost meaningless. A symbol drawn carelessly, as if it wasn't meant to be found. But Judy cannot look away from it, because it feels familiar. In the way a dream feels familiar. Like something she has seen before. Somewhere deeper than memory. Nick watches her expression shift. Do you know what that is? Aesiki. Judy doesn't answer. Because the truth is, she doesn't. But she feels it. Whatever this is, it isn't random. As the investigation grows, it doesn't unfold like a straight line. It unfolds like fog. The closer they get, the less certain everything becomes. People they question are polite. Too polite. They smile, but their eyes stay guarded. They speak as if choosing words carefully, not because they are hiding guilt, but because they are hiding fear. And Judy begins to realize something unsettling. This isn't about one missing person. This isn't even about crime. It's about something underneath Zootopia. Something old, something unresolved. A tension the city has carried for years, quietly buried under progress and optimism. Nick feels it too, but for him, it hits differently. Because Nick has always known what it is like to be seen as a story before being seen as a person. And lately, the city feels full of stories again. Stories about who belongs. Stories about who can be trusted. Stories that sound harmless until you realize how easily they become weapons. The midpoint shift comes not with an explosion, but with a realization. Judy stands late one night in the precinct, staring at a wall of scattered details. Missing names. Strange symbols. Places that connect in ways that shouldn't. And suddenly, the pattern isn't outside. It's inside. This isn't someone attacking Zootopia from beyond. This is something Zootopia created a consequence, a shadow cast by the city's own history. And Judy feels something cold settle in her chest. Because she understands now, Zootopia has always wanted to believe it fixed itself. That it moved past its fractures. That harmony was permanent. But harmony is not permanent. It is something you maintain. And if you stop maintaining it, the cracks do not disappear. They simply deepen quietly. Nick finds her there, still staring. He doesn't speak at first. Then, softly, "We thought we were done with all this." Judy's voice is barely audible. Maybe we were never done. Nick exhales, slow. For the first time, his usual confidence falters. Because this case is not just about solving something. It's about confronting something. Something personal. Something structural. Something that cannot be arrested and filed away. And that is what frightens them most. Not danger, but complexity. The deeper they go, the more Zootopia feels like a mirror. Every district reflects a different version of the same question. What happens when a city built on hope forgets how fragile hope really is? Judy begins to feel the weight of her role differently. She isn't just an officer. She is a symbol to some, a disappointment to others. And the pressure of that becomes unbearable in quiet moments. Nick, too, feels the pull of old instincts. The instinct to retreat, to laugh things off, to stay emotionally untouchable, because caring is dangerous. Caring means you can be hurt, and Zootopia is beginning to feel like a place that hurts in slow, invisible ways. The final revelation doesn't arrive as a villain stepping into the light. It arrives as understanding. The missing aren't taken for money, or revengeance, or spectacle. They are taken because they are unseen, because the city, for all its brightness, still has corners where people disappear emotionally long before they disappear physically. And Judy realizes with a sharpness that almost breaks her. The greatest threat to Zootopia has never been predators, or prey, or outsiders. The greatest threat has always been forgetting each other. In the closing moments, Judy and Nick stand again beneath the skyline. The city still glows, still breathes, still moves forward, but now they see it clearly. A city is not saved once. It is saved again and again, in the choices people make when no one is watching. Nick looks at Judy, not with humor, with honesty. And Judy, for the first time in a long time, allows herself to feel the weight of what they are protecting. Not perfection, not peace, but possibility. Because possibility is fragile, and yet it is enough. The city hums on, and somewhere in its endless streets, the future waits quietly, asking only one thing. Will you notice before it's too late?